Good afternoon. I am just curling up on the lounge. I have a spare half hour, so I'm going to be doing some work on my knitting. I'm currently knitting the Noble Cowl, and I'm using hand spun yarn. And this is for an entry for our local show, which is in a couple of weeks. I'm nearly finished, so I'm going to do a podcast video today. I'm going to do a little bit of body doubling. Knit along with me. I'm going to share with you a podcast from season 4 of the Ministry of Crafty Shenanigans, a conversational podcast I did with my crafty bestie for 4 seasons plus a couple of mini seasons. In this particular episode, we are talking about motivation, productivity, and what comes first. It's very much a chicken and the egg situation for me and for her. So we're chatting today about different ways we find motivation, how we get productive, and I'm going to knit along, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hi, I'm Rach.
And I'm Car. Welcome to the Ministry of Crafty Shenanigans,
a weekly podcast on creativity, community, connection, and collaboration. So it's lovely to be here this morning. Both of us are kind of staring a little bit bleary-eyed at each other, wondering how we're going to go. But it's perfectly on topic for what we were hoping to talk about today, which is motivation and productivity and what comes first. Do we be productive because we're motivated, or do we get motivated after being productive? So I definitely think for me, most of the time, it's very much if I'm productive, then I will be motivated. If I can push myself into just getting started, getting something done, it's kind of like, it gets the ball rolling. And then it's much easier for me to be motivated to continue to be productive if I've already been productive.
So our biggest problem is actually starting.
Yes, which we talked about a couple of episodes ago, that we struggle with the blank page, and getting started is often our biggest block.
Yeah, I believe I'm in agreement with you there, which I thought this would be an argumentative episode. Chicken, egg, chicken. But I definitely agree. Once you get started and become productive, the motivation follows.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
Is probably our biggest problem, because when we get motivated, we then want to do everything and try all the things, which then puts us into the spiral of overwhelm. So it's all very interconnected, isn't it, in the crafting world?
It really is. It is. I think for me, I kind of get stuck in this mindset that you have to be motivated to start. But I've learnt through my own creative process that that's just not how I work. If I wait to be motivated, I will never start anything. Sometimes I will start something because I'm motivated to start it. But other times I'll have this idea and it will just sit there and go, oh, I should do that. Yeah, I want to do that. And it's ridiculous because it's something that I want to do. But I just can't get over that hump of just starting. But if I just start even something unrelated, it's much easier to keep that momentum going. I think that's the word I'm looking for. It's momentum is where I get my motivation from. I find momentum much more important to my creative process than motivation.
That's interesting. This has got so many spirals we could take off, because as I'm listening to you, I'm like, yes, but you need inspiration. But then you also can't get stuck in that rut of continuing that same Groundhog Day spiral. So I know you are a good motivator. In particular, I'm going to mention the rainbow wave. That mine is still, look, it's cold enough today to pull it out, but I got no productive bones in my body today and no motivation. But you kept going with that one, and that you had momentum on that.
Huge momentum.
So much so that you started another blanket as soon as you finished that blanket. So it was interesting that you got that. You were able to push through the not boredom of the project, because it's not a project to be bored of. I think it's just such a big project that
it's monotonous.
Sometimes we bite off more than we can chew.
Yes.
So when it takes like 2 episodes for me to get across one color, it was not the boredom, it was the trying to keep that going, because it then comes back to time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So do I have enough time in a night to watch 2 episodes of a show and try and get one color added to a blanket? Or can I watch 2 episodes of a show and do, something else that's more productive in my head, which, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we are going around in spirals today.
Yes, absolutely. I think we kind of inspired each other towards the end of my rainbow wave because you said, I've got X amount to finish one color set. And I said, well, I've got
Mm.
X amount of colors to finish my blanket. And I feel like there's a correlation between what you had to finish a color set versus what I had to finish the blanket. And we said, okay, let's go. You finish the color set, I'll finish the blanket. See who finishes first.
Spoiler alert, she finished first. Ask me how mine's going.
Oh my goodness, ask me how my
Still
wrist
in.
was at the end of that weekend where I crocheted. I feel like it was in the vicinity of 30 odd rows at 320 stitches a row. It was insane what I
It
did
was,
at the end. But I got it finished, and that was enough to create the momentum, as you say, to start that next blanket. And those 2 blankets, which the second one also got finished, was enough to add enough momentum to completely change my creative process, which I think we have talked about a bit on the blog. I started thinking about this topic a little bit over our Easter bingo because it really struck me how bizarre it was. I had this project that I'd been wanting to do for ages, and I could just never get over that hump of motivation to actually do it. But then Easter bingo, I found it hard to get the motivation to get going. But once I got going, not only did I just get stuck into my Easter bingo, but I pulled out those skins and made that die and dyed some stuff because I was doing stuff anyway. And it wasn't even something that I was marking off on the squares, but it was just the fact that I had started. And so I was over that hump, and it was then easier to leverage that into the next project and the next project.
yeah, I know we've spoken about the Easter bingo because I always find that a bit of an inspiration for me to actually start and get back into my craft room. And once I get going, it's good. But I have a problem at the moment because I get the motivation to do something and then something else will pop up. I'm like, oh, segue to here. And I know that's a big, big issue. So I'm learning to go with the flow at the moment and just follow those little seeds of inspiration. Because if I follow the seeds of inspiration, then the motivation comes for me and then I become productive.
Yeah, okay, that's
So a little bit
interesting.
backwards sometimes.
Yeah. See, I'm even more backwards because I feel like once I'm in the groove of making, I find it easier to pick up sources of inspiration because I'm already in that creative mindset.
But do you jump from one to another?
No, I probably don't jump the inspiration as much as I used to, but I will make notes of it so that I can come back and revisit it.
Yes,
But
but
I
I
find
forget which journal I write that in, which is always a problem.
even when you've got a journal that tracks all your journals.
Do I have one of those? I actually don't have a journal that tracks all the journals.
Oh, there you go. There's your problem.
That's my problem. Excuse me, listeners, I am going to make myself a new journal that will track all the other journals.
Inspiration has just been found, and here comes the productivity.
Yes, yes. Well, I was just looking this morning and there was something I saw. I was like, oh, that is such a great idea. I should try that. And then I'm like, but why? I don't need that right now. But it's that little kernel of, oh, fun. That would be fun. And then, yeah.
I find if I'm in a creative rut and waiting for that motivation to come, I feel like I'm waiting for inspiration to slap me in the face. And I'm probably not necessarily as open to inspiration and probably not immersing myself in ways to be inspired. But I find once I've got that momentum going, I find inspiration everywhere. And so, yeah, you can probably tell when I'm in the flow because I'll be messaging you constantly going, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this and I want to do that. It's just been kind of playing on my mind since Easter how the motivation and productivity kind of go together, but not always in the way you would expect.
Yeah, sometimes it's backwards, isn't it? And then sometimes
Yeah.
it's forwards. I think there's a lot to unpack on this, and our minds are probably not. Let's face it, we're both sitting here today going, yeah,
Yeah.
really? But it is true. When you start, so for me, and it works across the board for every project, or any creativity level, once I throw myself into it and I commit to something, I find it creates more than if I don't. So at the moment, I know we touched on our 365s a couple of weeks ago. One of them has just completely fallen off my radar completely, and I'm kind of like, I think I'm done, but I'm not done. So I think I will eventually get back to it, but right now it's not on my radar because every time I go to sit there, I get the writer's block or the creative block or the blank page, which I generally don't get that, but I am getting it at the moment. So I think I'm just in this phase of I'm giving in to the lack of productivity. I'm giving in to the lack of motivation and leaning into the inspiration. But in saying that, as you know, behind the scenes, I'm doing a class, and it's not a class that teaches you how to do a finished page. It's you have to do the work, and I am loving it. And I've filled, I don't know how many. Do you remember how many pages I did? I think I'm up to
Oh,
11
gosh, you've
completed
been
spreads.
powering through it.
Yeah. So when you said before, I know when you're in an inspiration spiral, you know when I am, because I'm just sharing pages and pages and pages, not always shareable for outside of the personal little group, but that has my motivation. See, but I don't see that as motivation because I just see that as something that I'm doing because it's helping
Because
behind
it's
the
more the
scenes.
momentum then, isn't it? You've got the momentum happening.
Yeah. Well, it becomes a habit.
It does. But I think part of that too is, being aware of how your brain works means if you can work out how your motivation works as well, I think can be a really integral part of the process. Like I know a huge motivator for me, there's two huge motivators for me in my creative process. One is saying out loud what I'm avoiding. And I'll do this to you often, won't I? Is I'll jump in and I'll say to you, I need to do X and I don't want to, or I want to do X, but I can't. And saying it out loud is enough sometimes to get me over that hump. But the other big motivator for me, as you well know, also is deadlines. I work really well to a deadline. I think out of the 4 seasons we've been podcasting, I have had exactly one episode that I have not edited the night before it's due to drop. But I do think understanding how our brains respond to inspiration and motivation and momentum and productivity is so crucial to refining our creative process to make it look how we want it to look.
So let's talk normal people who get motivated without having to overthink. I mean, clearly we're sitting here overthinking our motivation and our productivity and all the reasons why we can't get over it to actually get to it, which, don't get me wrong, we do get motivated and we do get productive. And when we do, it's like crazy people.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. It's like crazy people, okay? But sometimes there's just so many things stopping us. So it really, like, I look at other people and think, oh, wow, you're really motivated to do that. What's wrong with me? It comes back to procrastination. I know that. But then also, what is normal?
I totally envy those people. And I think that comes back to that self-awareness as well of just accepting that's not how our brains work and that's not going to be us. And, like I said, I struggle to form habits. And so that's something that I need to make a conscious decision of when I want to make a habit, like my morning sketches that I was doing. And I said to you a week ago, I'm going to pick them back up. Guess how many I've done? None. None.
Which one? What was the the morning sketches? Okay. I thought you said morning stitches. I was like, what are you stitching you haven't told me about? Because that's also a good way to be motivated. You share stuff, I share stuff. It's that
Yeah. That accountability is so important to the process as well, isn't it?
it
For
is.
me, it is anyway.
Yes. And the other thing that really motivates me, which I'm absolutely okay, I've just sat here and said, I'm not motivated at the moment. I'm like procrastinating, but I'm really not because I have been stitching my planets behind the scene.
Oh, yes.
And at one point, I got my offsider, who's also stitching the same pattern, to share what she's up to now. She's a speedy stitcher, and she shared, and I was just like, yeah, you're ahead. I have no way of finishing this before you, which is funny because I started it before her. But I am getting a really motivation. I'm on the last week of the pattern, which I shared it yesterday, a brief sneak peek in the ministry. And I am so motivated right now to finish it that I am like, I'm not even sharing it with her because I'm like, I can't let her know I'm so close. So close. Sorry, my friend. You know I love you.
I do think it's hilarious after all this time of you paying me out about needing to be needing to win and racing and stuff. Here you are picking up my bad habits.
I should also add that our third friend is actually doing like probably double the amount of patterns that I'm doing. So she rotates through a lot of hers. So that's why she's not up to where I'm up to with mine. But
Take the wins where you can.
when she finished the moonscape and I feel like I've spent weeks on it and I was so sick of pink. I think I even said in the group chat the other night, I finished the pink and I was about to throw all those threads out because I never want to see them again. And then I looked at the pattern the last week and it's like a bit of moon rock I've got to stitch. I'm like, no, I can't. It's too pink. Anyway, that's my issue. I get in my own head to stop myself, but it will be finished. I'm hoping this weekend. Stay tuned. So what's on for the remainder of your day? Have you got any motivation?
So as we've mentioned, I have been under the weather this week and out of action. So I feel less than motivated, I will confess, but it's weird because I also do feel motivated having been out of action for 3 days. I am behind on both projects and blog posts. Even though I still feel pretty ordinary and I don't have a lot of energy, I still feel like I want to dive headfirst into making a whole heap of things.
But it gets like that. And sometimes it's like a bit of an enforced break. You know, the obstacles that come up, like you're sick or the craft room is a mess again, or you're too busy or we've got work that needs to be done. There's always that obstacle which I find can stop the motivation. Actually, and it's interesting because somebody commented last week on the Dear Jane blocks that I shared on the ministry Instagram account. And it was like so simple. I was like, yes, set the machine up, set it all up, have it there ready to go, and just 10 or 20 minutes a day. And you'll see motivation and you'll see progress and productivity. And I know that once I do that, it'll just keep going.
Yes.
But it's that setting up the machine and setting up that workspace to work because I'm in a small room and I kind of have grown out of my room.
You're in a small room. You would like to complain to me about the size of your room. Pick your audience.
Okay, so sorry. So I'm in a small craft room and I've grown out. And we've discussed it before. It's like
It's a craft room. It's not supposed to be neat and tidy and
it's like that vault of stuff. I am painting at the moment and I am painting every single day. So I have got stuff spread out from one end to the other. And then I'm trying to finish a few things. And yeah, anyway, it's crazy. I'm complaining about just problems that I shouldn't be complaining about. But there's always something that stops us from getting that. And for me, it's something as simple as if I set it all up, if I have it ready to go, it's done. But in the back of my mind,
you're removing that barrier to entry, aren't you?
But in the back of my mind, I'm like, if I set that up, then it's going to block the space
Can I
for
give you a pro tip?
X, Y, Z. So then this will stop. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you're jumping from project to project,
that makes it harder.
Particularly for me, because I have paint on my hands, you go and pick up your stitches or something, it's a little bit harder.
It is a bit. For me, I find out of sight, out of mind is so true. Even when it's a fun project that I am loving, if I can't see it, chances are I'll forget that it's there and not work on it. So something like that would work really well for me. And my pro tip in your situation, use the dining table. Just take it over. Nobody needs to eat. That's what I would do when my craft room was too messy. I'd haul my stuff up and put it on the dining table and take over. And then I had no excuse to not work on whatever it was I was avoiding. Because one, it was right there where I could see it every second of the day. And two, my entire family would be like, when can we have our dining table back?
Yeah. That's not going to work. I do, though, pull out the cutting board. I do use the dining table for the cutting board.
Oh, I love those cutting boards because you gave me one of those, I think, at our first camp or our second camp, the little portable cutting board and it's the folder with the ironing board and cutting board.
Did
And then
I?
you also made me the piecing board.
Oh, yes. Oh, the piecing board's fun. I still have those. They work so well. They work so well that I have got blocks cut out from our camp that we did when your baby was little. How many years ago was that he came on camp with
Well,
us?
he'll be 10 in September, and he was 5 months at that camp.
You've heard it here. I still have them on the boards, and they haven't fallen off. All the pieces are still there.
But isn't that the perfect example of what we're talking about, like with the chicken and the egg, the motivation and productivity, is that, you've kind of tucked it away waiting for the motivation, so you haven't been productive waiting on the motivation. But if you set up your machine and you did just a block or 2 a day, you'd probably find that motivation would come.
Yes. And I think that's how I got to so many blocks, because I seriously thought I'd done maybe 10 or 15 blocks, and I was, full disclosure, I was cleaning my craft room out, and I'm like, nah, I'll get rid of it. It's not giving me what I needed anymore. And when I pulled it all out, you pull the whole thing out and it becomes, I think the group chat, one of you asked, how many blocks have you done? Because I said, well, I've done 87 blocks. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's a lot of, yeah, you can't part with that. So I'm changing the progress on that one. So in order to be productive and to get the motivation to actually finish it, I'm changing the layout and I'm changing how I'm going to do it. And that was enough for me to go, oh, wow, I'm going to actually do this and I'm going to finish it. So those blocks that have been on those boards for the
Fabulous.
last decade are going to get finished. Yay. As soon as I set up the sewing machine, which maybe this weekend, maybe not. Actually, can't do this weekend.
I'll keep you accountable over this season to see how you go with that.
Okay, challenge me to have it laid out and the top at least pieced by the end of the season. That's when the season drops, though.
Yes.
Not from when we record.
No. So, like it's 2013, I am issuing a challenge that by the time the last episode is published, you will have your Dear Jane pieced and topped together. They can't see the thumbs up.
Oh, can't they?
No.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Read you the
I have got
words.
2 thumbs up. That's a big yes. Heck yes, I can do that.
Excellent, excellent. Listeners, I want you to help me keep her accountable, and I would also love for you to jump over to our Instagram and share some thoughts on how your process works. Do you use motivation to get productive, or do you use your productivity to get motivated to keep going? I feel like there's so much more we could say on this and still not come up with an answer, so we would love to hear your input. You can join that conversation on our Instagram at Ministry of Crafty Shenanigans. And you can find the show notes and all the details of today's episode and the past episodes we referenced on our website at ministryofcraftyshenanigans.com.